John Runyon came in without a lot of, everybody knew who he was, obviously, but he did come in with a lot of expectation, and yet he's developed as a really strong player for you. Talk about his journey and what you've seen him become.
John is, one of the linemen that's been here now 5 years, and he's developed into a very good football player. Part of an offensive line that's an experienced group that we expect a lot from. And John's one of our best linemen.
Where is, maybe this year, have you seen him, even a strong player looking for a way to pick it up a little bit, where he's picked up something in his game this year?
I think he's gotten extremely strong. He's an athletic player, and he's always been really good with focus and knowing what to do and leading guys. His leadership ability is also very high.
After watching the film, Jim, were there any positives that you took from the film, and what were they?
I mean, there was a few. Watching the film, I think it was pretty obvious to everybody that watched it, the entire football world, that really from A to Z, it wasn't good enough, and not acceptable. So starts really with not acceptable for me. So you start self-critical and determined to get it fixed. That speaks for me and everybody on our team, players and coaches. But yeah, there was not a day we're proud of.
In terms of that self-evaluating, are there things that you pinpointed personally that you want to try to fix?
Yes, definitely. Well, starts with really we didn't play physical enough. We were out hustled. I put that. I take responsibility for that. In any ways that we were out schemed, also take responsibility. It's my job to make sure that we're completely sound in all offenses, defenses, everything that we're running. And how I manage the team and get them to play hard, play tough. I mean, as I said, A to Z. I mean, you can point to, wasn't good enough, and then, we all take responsibility for that. We all got fingerprints on it, but determined to get it fixed is where we're at right now. And I could go into all the details, but really gonna. That's every single detail is saved for our team, and we'll talk about it. And already have as a coaching staff and what our plans are and what ways that we determine to make it, to see the improvement, and I'm confident that we'll rally and get that done.
How's Dylan today?
Dylan's improving. He had a concussion and doubtful for the next game.
And what's Mike doing for status? I saw that he was dressed.
Yeah, Mike's practicing, working his way back in, and should be able to play.
John? Coach, how much in the season, when preparing for opponents, can you enhance physicality and toughness?
Yeah, you can, and that'll be an emphasis. Emphasis on physicality, emphasis on toughness, emphasis on hustle, make it part of the practice plan more, and also playing the players that are dedicated to playing physically and playing and hustling at all times, and get those players in the ball game.
Awesome.
Jim, can you think back on your time here as a player and anything you learned from that in terms of how you deal with a game like Saturday when you're 18 or 19 years old and people are upset about how you played?
Yeah, maybe learned it maybe here playing or reinforced along the way, but the only way I know is to go back to work and dedicate yourself to improvement and fixing. That was a bad day. That was not a banner day for Michigan, and you don't want that to turn into two losses. You don't want to let one loss turn into two. So everything we do is going to be, this game. This is the most important game. This week, the most important week. Win the next game, and you come back to work and make darn sure it doesn't happen again.
Obviously, there's always been high standards here, but has the reaction to a bad day like that gotten more intense over time? Is it more intense now than maybe it's ever been?
I don't know. I don't know that. Just back to work, and as I said, the only ways that you know how to do that, I probably figure. Don't even have to guess where you're going, but I mean, it's we saw it, you saw it, the entire football world saw it, that wasn't good enough, and it's not acceptable to us, and not much more to say about that.
Julie?
Jim, why do you think the offense has been inconsistent? That's what Nick Eubanks said after the game, and said they'll be fluent at some point, but how much patience do you have for that?
Well, you got to do. Players have to focus. Players have to play with focus, and that has to be coached too. If that's not getting done, if the players aren't, if we're missing a detail by one position, and then a mistake pops up at another position on the next play, if there's always one guy, that's coaching and focusing by the players to make sure they're doing their job.
How much of that is a function of being in a new system that maybe still has time to be installed or needs time?
Well, it's got to make sure that it's done and it's done right. And as a week of practice goes on, if it's not done right, then we got to do it again. I got to make sure that, and that's part of my responsibility.
On the right, all right.
2 years ago, there was kind of a similar loss at Penn State and played Rutgers the next week. So was it hard at all then to motivate, or was it just kind of forgetting?
No, we're not. There's no excuse being made. There's no forgetting. It's we got to rally. We got to, as I said, this week, this is the most important week. This game, the most important game, and our focus, and it's got to be better. It's got to be better. It's got to be better by myself. It's got to be better by our coaches. It's got to be better by our players.
On the left, Nick.
Jim, you mentioned finding guys that you need to get out there, need to emphasize, need to get the ball to. Maybe Nico at the end of the game makes a couple of really nice catches or contested catches. Is that an area of the offense where you can see more of that, more pushing the ball to him, or letting him, kind of be an athlete and be a player?
Yeah, it's all areas right now. So we feel we have good players that they've got to focus in on every play at the receiver position, the offensive line. We talked about that being an experienced group. They've got to play good. They got to hustle. They got to protect the quarterback. They got to play physical in both areas, pass protection and the run game. It's our job to get them to do that. We got backs that need holes. We're going to expect our offensive line to move people, and that didn't happen in this past game. We weren't as physical as our opponent in the offensive line or the defensive line. It all ties into all 11.
On the left, Larry.
Jim, what happened when you had to call a timeout after Ronnie Bell's big play there, and what can the offense learn from, I guess, next time that happens where you don't need to call a timeout and you're ready to have the next play?
Yeah, there was a flag down in the field. Didn't know what it was for. Thought it was might have, really was thinking it was a face mask or something along those lines. Was asking, wasn't getting any feedback to what it was, and then they announced it on the loudspeaker that it was inadvertent flag. It had fallen out of the official's pocket, and then started the clock. And so, yeah, we got to get that on us to get that information and get it quickly and get the play call into the players, knowing what that situation was. We thought it was going to be half the distance to the goal. It wasn't. We had to change and ran out of time and had to call timeout.
Right here, Ashley.
Jim, Nick said on Saturday that he thought maybe there was some dwelling on some of the early mistakes in the game. Do you think that played a part in the out-hustling that you're talking about?
Say that again, Nick said? Oh, you bet.
Like some of the early mistakes that you guys made on Saturday, that he thought players were maybe dwelling on that a little bit. Do you think that had an effect on being out-hustled, like you said?
Well, if Nick said it, it could have, but I mean that's no excuse. There's plenty of other plays throughout the game that, whether it was, missed tackles, we had a lot of misfits. We didn't fit the run game correctly. They did a great job of taking advantage of that, and big plays came off of that, off of missed tackles, off of just in just about every area, as I said. So.
Got time for a couple more questions. Starting on the left, Ryan.
Ben Mason's fumble, did you sense that deflate the offense at all?
I think that was just the same question there.
Right, but did you get a sense that it deflated the offense? Nick said it killed them, killed momentum. And if so, how do you improve responding to adversity there?
I did that drive. I didn't sense that killed or was responsible for the rest of the game, and if that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable for, as I said before, A to Z. Wasn't acceptable. That would be another thing if that was the case.
In the back, Joey.
Coach, in situations like this where you're coming off of a game where you're facing adversity, how much is it on the coaching staff maybe versus the senior leadership or the captains to get the team together and rally? Or do you more put that emphasis on the captains to internally motivate the players? Like how much is it coaching staff versus players?
It's never versus. I mean, we're a team. We believe in each other. We are dedicated to getting it fixed. I know that's the way our players approach it. I know that's the way our coaches approach it.
On the left, Aaron.
Jim, when do you anticipate getting True Wilson back, and what's Zach Charbonnet's status for this week?
It's possible to get True back. We will see. Feel like Zach's in a good place, and as he was back last week, and he's back this week.
Last question, Chris.
That was my.
Oh,
I guess I'll ask about Mozzie and Chris Hinton, and maybe is there a possibility that we'll see them, and how are they progressing to maybe give you some help on the D-line?
Yeah, we're looking for if there's, as I said, the players that are going to help us, and maybe somebody can help us on a cover team, on a return team, run down and cover a kickoff, run down and cover a punt. Looking for guys to step up and play with that great focus and physicality and hustle that this level demands. Kinsley?
Sean McCune, do you have an update on Sean and also Shea? I mean, you said he was being evaluated at halftime. Then it looked like he took, pardon me, a lot of hits. It looked like he was holding his shoulder a little bit.
Yeah. That's another area. We have got to do a better job of protecting the quarterback. Shea's a tough guy, but we got to give him time to throw, make reads, do what he's capable of doing. He's a very good player. I think he is. He'd be probable for this week. And Sean McCune, I would say doubtful.
That's the last question. Austin, do you want that?
Yeah, I was just going to follow up on that. Do you go into this week with Joe as the number 2 quarterback with Dylan limited?
Yes.
All right. Could you raise your hand?
Can I ask you, Jim, do you have a level of frustration with the offense? And if so, do you take play more of a role in calling plays at this point, or do you let Josh?
No, Josh, we believe in, I've talked about this before, I believe in our coaches, I believe in our players, and in the ways that we haven't been successful in this past game, it was thorough. You know, it was a lot. But I know our coaches are determined. They're not accepting it, and got to do a better job. And we put that, on all of us. Same thing we feel about is if we're a player, if we're a coach, that's self-critical is the way we're looking at it, and we're looking at it as determined, without excuse, to get it fixed. Okay? All right, thanks.